Well, good evening. Welcome to our board meeting tonight. This is the Pasco School District Board of Directors meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Just for information, at 4:30 we did have a study session where we talked about our upcoming board retreat, where we're going to talk about our self-assessment, which probably doesn't mean a lot to you guys, or probably doesn't interest you too much, but we did talk about that. And we also talked about the AVID program and our district annual objectives for the next year. So we will start with a flag salute, and for that we have the students from Maya Angelou Elementary here. So Principal Diana Sisney, if you want to introduce your group.
Good evening, Board President, Mr. Christensen, Superintendent, Mrs. Whitney, and distinguished members of the board. It's an honor to be here this evening. As one of the largest or the largest elementary school in the state of Washington, we thought it would be okay if we brought 10 kids. It was hard to just pick a few. So I am honored to have with me tonight some of our 5th grade awesome two-way dual language students. We were so excited to hear about the decision that you have helped make and our district, that our program is going to be expanded throughout the district and offered to more students. And so because of that, these students were really passionate. They're very passionate about our program, as all the adults, and they just, as they introduce themselves, they're just going to share a little bit about their belief and experience in being in the program.
Good afternoon. My name is Gerardo. Speaking in Spanish is important to me because if I didn't know how to speak in Spanish, I wouldn't be able to communicate with my family and my Hispanic friends. It is also important to me because it allows me to stay connected with my culture.
Hello, my name is Isabella. Speaking Spanish is important to me because I would like to be able to communicate with the people in our community, because a large portion of our community are Spanish speakers. Spanish is also important because I can fluently speak to my family in Spanish and help some of my family members improve their Spanish language skills.
Could we get you guys, after you're done, just come right up front here. We don't want you to blend back in the crowd. We want, after you speak, just come right up front. Gerardo and the young lady, yes. Thank you.
My name is London, and being in the dual language program will help my future by letting me have more job opportunities, and it will also allow me to be able to speak fluently with the community.
Hello, my name is Anisha. The dual language program has been a benefit to me by helping me speak more fluently in English and Spanish, and helping me communicate more with my family and friends who both speak Spanish and English, and it has been a big part of my life, and it has helped me so much come all the way this way to speak both languages, and it has helped me so much.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Emily. It is important to learn the Spanish first because in our community a huge percentage knows Spanish, and most of us here have spoken Spanish in our lives, and most of us have learned the Spanish first. And it is more important because you never know, a Spanish speaker doesn't understand English, and as you get older you start learning English. And since there are a lot of Spanish speakers here, you might want to help somebody. And if you know both languages, you can try and translate that English into Spanish for them, and you can be a helpful person in our community.
Hi, my name is Marbella. The TWL is a program more students should have access to because you get more job opportunities, and also if you want to learn a different language on high school, you can learn 3. You'll have 3 different languages you know, and if you don't, you'll learn 2.
Good afternoon, my name is Noe. A typical day in the dual language looks like starting off in a day with English, and then
but the expectations in English are the same as a regular class. But on the other hand, in Spanish, we can only speak Spanish. So.
Hello, my name is Josie, and the dual language has been a benefit to me by letting me learn how to speak in both languages, and I can write letters to my grandpa who lives in Mexico, and I can help my family who doesn't really speak that much English, help them speak a little bit more Spanish.
Hello, my name is Lise. The TWDL program is a program more students should have access to because they have bigger opportunities to enter college, and to also for college you need money and you can get a good job.
Hello, my name is Brooklyn, and a typical day in the dual language program looks like speaking Spanish and English mixed, and our day is packed filled with both languages, and it's just a typical day for us. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Didn't they do awesome? That's the first I heard all their responses, so way to go, kids. Can the families of these students please stand? Thank you. Let's give the moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas a big applause.
Well, thank you, students. Thanks for coming and doing that with such enthusiasm. We have a little pin for you that we would like you to take. And thank you, parents, for coming and bringing your students so that they can share this time with us and start our meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Come on over here. We want to get your picture.
El próximo año nos hablarán en español. Así.
You might have to squeeze together a little bit to get in the picture. All right, thank you, students, and thank you, families, for coming and joining us tonight. Okay. You guys are diehards if you're going to sit through the rest of this. We won't feel bad if you have other stuff to do. Okay, so next, could we get a roll call, please? Present?
Present.
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 Present. Present. Present.
All right, thank you. Agenda review.
There are no additions or changes to the agenda this evening. We are requesting an executive session under 4231-101G for personnel items.
Okay, thank you. So now we come to special recognition. So Mr. Shane Ettinger, looks like we'll start off with a pink award. Yes.
Good evening, Board President Christensen, Superintendent Whitney, and members of the board. We were planning to do a Partner in Kindness Award tonight, but we're going to hold off on that for just a little bit. We do have a couple of other special recognitions tonight, so we're going to move forward with those. As you may know, Governor Jay Inslee declared the week of March 18th through 24th as School Retirees Appreciation Week in Washington. The retired teachers and educators who are part of the Benton Franklin School Retirees Association continue to work to support high educational standards, even though they're not in the classroom every day anymore. They also promote involvement in charitable projects and activities. They sponsor scholarships, and they continue to participate in educational and community activities along with volunteering their time and energy to promote learning initiatives with our children. Tonight we are honored to have Dottie Stevens, Helen Bakshis, Diana Baker, and Jim and AJ Foster here with us from the Benton Franklin School Retirees Association. Dottie, if you and your group could please come forward, the Pasco School District would like to thank you and the Benton Franklin School Retirees Association for your efforts to provide support for the students and teachers in our schools. And you're welcome to say a few words if you like.
Thank you, Shane. We very much appreciate this opportunity. As Shane said, we continue to be supportive. We, in January, always have our superintendents to visit and let us know what's going on, and especially if there's a vote for levies or bonds. And sometimes those votes are kind of close. And so we're there. And, you know, the grandmothers are running the show at the home, reminding people to vote. So that's an important thing. We do a lot of support. We give out many grants to teachers, and we did 22 this year, and we had 4 that went to Pasco, and I'll leave this with you so you can see who they were. But it's kind of first come, first serve, and that's how we do it. We also do scholarships. We're focusing on student teachers, and we're doing that because we want people that are going to teach in the Tri-Cities. We need teachers. And so we're supporting at Heritage University, WSU Tri-Cities, and Eastern Washington at this time. And so far we've done, I believe, $12,000 in scholarships this year. So that's another way we can be supportive. And many of us are still subbing, so you know us. Okay. Jim Foster, is there anything you would like to add?
Sure. I would like to make sure that all you folks write your legislators right now during this next week or two, and we need to pass HB 1390, and we need to pass the Senate Bill 5400. Just in case you're wondering what those are COLA bills for us old folks. We are one of the two of the few districts, 2 of the few pension systems in the state of Washington that have not had a COLA in 10 years. So we are hot and heavy on that right now. And if every one of you people can email them either the 8th, 9th, or 16th districts, you guys happen to be the 16th, but if you want to email the 8th, 9th, or 16th, that would be helpful to us. In fact, if you want to email them every single day for the next week and a half, that would be good. Thank you.
And again, we thank you. There are 800 of us in Benton Franklin that are in retirees, and just short of 18,000 in the state. And we have one of the largest groups. We get out 100 people. As Superintendent Whitney can tell you, we turn out the group for January, which is one of our favorite meetings. Thank you. And she is a member, so I'm going to leave this with you now.
Thank you. Yeah, we'd like you guys to come up and get a picture and get a little token of appreciation. Thank you for your service and supporting our school district even after you've retired.
Forever. It's a mission.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is great.
It's been a long time.
Was he one of your students?
I don't know if any of my students are. My students are probably all dead by now.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Well, board members, we are also here tonight to recognize the talented student artists and the teachers who inspire them here in our district to create beautiful and thought-provoking art. I hope that all of you had a chance to enjoy some of the art that's on display here in the boardroom here this evening. All of these pieces were featured at the annual ESD 123 Student Art Show, which was held recently at CBC's Jurdy Center. We'd like to recognize the students responsible for these artistic pieces and the teachers who helped to inspire them. So if you're here tonight, please come forward because we have your certificates from the ESD. Unfortunately, thanks to Mother Nature, their awards reception was canceled due to bad weather last month, so we have the honor of giving them their certificates tonight. I'd also like to ask PSD's Director of Special Programs and Assessment, Shelley Hatch, to help me hand out the certificates tonight. So students who received honorable mention at the ESD 123 Art Show are from Chiawana High School, Jocelyn Frank, Marisol Torres, Leanne Grigo, and Angela Bracamontes. From New Horizons High School, Bradley Smith and Juan Guerrero, and from Pasco High School, Chloe Brook. Again, all of their art is on display, or a majority of the art is on display here tonight. Students who received Judges' Choice Honors, their artwork has advanced to the state competition and will be on display at the headquarters, the OSPI headquarters in Olympia. From Chiawana High School, we have Cooper Brook, Aaliyah Pangelinen, Leon Galvez, and Yesenia Moncada. From New Horizons High School, we have Yesenia Penaloza. And from Pasco High School, we have Marlene Macias. Students who received Superintendent's Top Choice and Honorable Mention honors as chosen by Superintendent Michelle Whitney. From New Horizons High School, we have Martha Perez, Florentino Castillo, and Wendy Rojas. From Chiawana High School, Jessica Allencaster and Keila Castillo Sands. And from Pasco High School, we have Marlene Macias. We also want to inspire the students, or I'm sorry, we also want to recognize the art teachers who have inspired these students. Our art teachers who have inspired students that we've named off today are from Chiawana High School, Felicia Jones, Ken Merrick, Ethan Miller, and Verna Schwilke. From New Horizons High School, Saul Martinez and Joelle Nunn. From Pasco High School, Christy Baker and Randy Cruzen. So please, to our teachers who share their talent and experience with our students, thank you for the work that you do. The world is a little more beautiful of a place because of the young artists that you guide and inspire. And to our student artists, thank you for sharing your vision and talent with us, and congratulations on your beautiful work.
Yes, thank you. So why don't you
just come forward
yep.
for a sec, we'll take a picture.
Come on up here, we want to get a picture. You guys want to take this? Just take each one like that. We're going to put our student board reps up there with you. Thank you, students, and thank you, teachers. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So this is the part of our meeting where we invite those who want to speak to the board, have something to share, to come up to the microphone. We'll give you 2 minutes to address the board. Anybody want to speak to the board tonight? Last call. Seeing none, we are moving on. So, agenda item number 7, approval of minutes for the regular meeting of March 19th, 2019. Could we get a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move to approve the meeting minutes from March 19th, 2019.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the regular meeting minutes for March 19th, 2019. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? All right, minutes are approved. Consent agenda. Personnel warrants, 180 days requirement waiver due to delay/cancellation of school. Resolution number 973, Columbia River Elementary constructability recommendations. Resolution number 974, acceptance of bid proposal for middle school number 4. Asset preservation program building condition assessment scores. Overnight travel for Chiawana High School DECA students to participate in Every 15 Minutes program in Kennewick, Washington. Overnight travel for New Horizons High School DECA students to participate in Every 15 Minutes program in Kennewick, Washington. So that is the consent agenda. Could we get a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Could we get a second?
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. So could we get a roll call, please? Yes.
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 Okay, so the consent agenda is approved. So we're going to go back to our special recognition. I think we've got one last item of business to take care of there.
We do indeed. Thank you, President Christensen. We just found out that, or we had a late arrival, and we want to make sure that we take the opportunity to present the award tonight. So tonight we have the honor of presenting a Partner in Kindness Award to one of our valued community partners. As you know, these Pink Awards are given to groups, organizations, and individuals who donate more than $1,000 in cash, goods, or services that directly benefit the students of the Pasco School District. Tonight we're excited to honor Carniceria Laborata for their generous donation to Pasco High School's pre-Posada event back in December. At this time, I'd like to ask Margarita Ortiz to please come forward. I'd also like to ask Pasco High Principal Jake Stickle to please come to the podium to share a few words about this generous donation.
Good evening, Board President Christensen, Superintendent Whitney, members of the board. I'm here on behalf of Pasco High School, and I would like to introduce Margarita and Carniceria La Barata. Did a wonderful job this year. Each December, we have had a parent-sponsored posada where we invite parents, their children, friends of the family, and this year we had over 500 parents that showed up, and we were a little unprepared. So La Barata had originally committed to donating 300 tacos. It turned out that they needed over 2,000 and did it without asking and served our families very, very well. They truly went above and beyond and deserve the recognition that they are receiving this evening. At Pasco High School, we really want to thank Carniceria and La Barata for everything they did for our families for that event. Thank you very much.
We appreciate our local businesses who support our students in that way, and thanks, Margarita. So moving on now to action items. We have, looks like one action item, long-term facilities management plan, Dr. Susana Reyes.
So I need to find the documents. whole packet there? Yeah. No, it's not.
Where's Mark? Hi, everyone.
We can go to the website and go from.
Just speak from
Yeah, I'll just
your
speak to
paper.
it. Okay.
So normally there's like the little bench bookmarks down the side. We can't find them.
Hold
So
on.
Susanna's just going to speak from her
So
paper.
go to page
You have it in front of you.
39.
Great. And I believe you have a hard copy of the document as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jenny will try to find it there, but I'll go ahead and start. So good evening, President Christensen, members of the board, and Superintendent Whitney. I'm here this evening to request action from the board on the long-term facilities management plan. As you know, our community builders group and staff began working on this process in the spring of 2017. And we also had a smaller technical work group who contributed to the effort. And the two came together in September and worked together to do some deeper dives into the information. And we are where we are because of the work that they did. I would like to acknowledge the members of the group. And if you're here this evening, I would invite you to stand and be recognized. But I'd like to share those names with you this evening. Brian Ace. Don Bell, Casey Benyon, Whitney Billman, Christina Brown, Alva Cuevas, Lance Deaver, Dan Doda, Ashley Fisher, Nathan Grimm, Randy Hayden, Kevin Hebden, Rubin Jimenez, Richard Job, Brent Kubalik, Heather Kubalik, Sherry Lankin, Wendy Lecto-Polster, Kim Lehrman, Ana Magdalena, Randy Nunemaker, Carissa Peterson, Jackie Ramirez, Heidi Redfield, Maribel Smith, Jamie Southward, Todd Stevens, Marsha Stillwell, Kevin Sullivan, Buck Taft, Dan Taylor, Meredith Taylor, Rick White, and those are all of the members of the two groups that helped us get to this point in the process. So I just want to really acknowledge all of the time and effort that went into the work, the numerous meetings that we came together to work through processes to develop this. And so I just really want to recognize their effort and their contribution. So thank you for that work. Last week during the extended study session, Superintendent Whitney presented information on various components of the plan, and I'm just going to scroll the document here as I read through it. The components of the plan include the facilities operational expectations that were established by you, the long-term facilities planning guiding principles, the recommendation for school site size for planning purposes, as well as school size for planning purposes. And we also presented and shared information regarding a bond timeline scenario that includes bonds to take place every 4 years, beginning in 2020. The proposed projects for each bonds were also shared with you, and you have those in the document as well. The approximate bond cost that we're going to be aiming for is around $100 million for each of those. And information regarding the financial standing of the district was also shared with you by Scott Bauer from Northwest Municipal Advisors. He shared information regarding what the different potential bond proposals that were on the timeline, what they would mean for our debt capacity, and as well as our debt service and so forth, and tax rates as well. And then during last week's meeting, you also received information regarding the enrollment projections and building capacity projections as as they as projects are completed, how the two would intersect over the course of the period of time for the different bond projects that are lined out for the next 12 years or so. So with your approval, all of this information will be compiled into a one complete document, and it will outline Pasco School District's approach for planning for our facilities projects in the future. Along with the document, we will provide an executive summary and website presence for our public. So that was the information. So really at this time, we would ask you to entertain a motion to approve the plan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Reyes. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Reyes before we make a motion?
Thanks to everyone in the community and in the district who worked on this plan. How long are you thinking it'll take to create the comprehensive plan?
We've established a target date of April 23rd. It's already in draft form. We just need to finish it and put the final touches on it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to comment on this plan before we take action? Seeing no comments. Board members, if there's no questions for Dr. Reyes, could we get a motion?
Mr. President, I move to approve the long-term facilities management plan as presented.
Could we get a second?
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we move to approve, or that we approve the long-term facilities management plan as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, could we get a roll call, please? Yes.
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 Okay. So the plan is approved. Now we're moving on to.
Thank you.
Can I just make a comment real quick?
I know, I want to make a comment too.
Yeah,
So.
I'll be brief though, because we've had lots of discussions on this over the last couple months. But I'm just real excited about this. I love everything that the district and our community's done with it. I think it's important to recognize, and it reminds me of with the curriculum implementation that was a huge lift a couple years ago, that this is going to be an ongoing process. So even though we have, say, a comprehensive plan, and what Mr. Lambert mentioned, the final comprehensive document that we've approved to include these this material in there, it's going to be something that's reviewed. One of the aspects of it was reassessing on a regular schedule, for example, every 2 years. I think that's great. If we look at the timeline of potential bonds, that is obviously something that can just very easily be updated. As we hopefully propose a bond and bond passes, facilities are built, we just kind of keep moving along and kind of adding on to the end as what the needs will be as we go forward. I just think it's great. It's going to be dynamic. It won't be something that just sits there for 10 years on the website. It'll be something that will be updated over time so that we can refer community members and people that want to know what the plan is going forward, what is our plan to address the facilities issues in our community. It's all going to be out there and they can look at it, and we'll make sure it stays updated in the future.
And I just wanted to thank everybody who served on that committee. The board's not always the easiest people to work with, and after we failed our bond, we had that committee work on passing the bond that had failed, and they did an excellent job, and as you know, it passed by, what, 7 votes? Anyway, and so we just appreciate your work, your fluidity, working around our needs and the needs of the district, and we realize you spent hours and hours and hours away from your families. So I know there's not a lot of you here. I hope you understand how much I appreciate you. I think my fellow board members feel the same. So thank you for your sacrifice. This is such a valuable document. It's been one we've been looking for a long time. It's powerful, and it's going to change the way we do business here in the district. And we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you.
Okay. Now we're moving on to reports. Our first report tonight is on the Voting Rights Act, an update by Ms. Sarah Thornton.
trying to be helpful here.
Good evening, Board President Christensen, Superintendent Whitney, and board members. Right. So the purpose of the update tonight is to provide you to refresh the information that we've been looking at around the topic of director districts, and primarily to confirm that you would like to move forward based on our study of this topic so far, that you would like to move forward into next steps. So first, just a little bit of background. This topic came to the board, as you're aware, based on a request from a community member in 2017. And the request was for the board to consider looking at changing its system of elections to director districts. For some context, you as a board are currently comprised of 5 at-large positions. That means that every eligible voter in the district can vote for each of your positions whenever you are up for when those positions are up for election. In director districts, what that looks like is that the district could be divided into up to 5 individual districts, and the individual voters who live in those districts would vote for a director out of that district. Or it could be a combination of director districts and at-large districts. So the topic and the request to look at that kind of a system came to the board in 2017, and we've been discussing it with you in a couple of different formats. We met in a study session in January of 2018. We also met in a regular meeting in September of 2018. And as a board, you've also had the opportunity to speak with outside legal counsel who has some expertise in this practice area, and you were able to do that recently. The discussion that you had with him, of course, is privileged and confidential, and that would not be appropriate for us to talk about tonight. Really, the focus for tonight is to gauge whether or not the board wants to move forward at this point. At a very high level, the information that we've looked at together has centered around changes to the Washington Voting Rights Act that took effect in June of 2018. And there are 2 important things that law does. Number one, it provides a cause of action under state law for individuals to bring a challenge to the district's election systems. And it also provides a new mechanism for the board to make proactive changes to the system in a way that does not require a vote of the public. The first way that the Voting Rights Act could come into play through an individual challenge would be through what they call a vote dilution claim. And in that kind of a case, an individual community member would need to show that protected class voters consistently support candidates who are different from those supported by white voters, and that those protected class voters do not have an equal opportunity to elect their preferred candidate or the candidate of their choice. That's what, generally speaking, a claim from an individual would look like under the Washington Voting Rights Act. Now, for the board to look at this proactively, that's the other mechanism that's available under the law, and that's really the question that we have been looking at with you over the last year. In order for the board to move forward, we've talked about needing to consider all of the questions that you see in front of you. We've looked at whether or not there is community interest and concern in this topic, and we've ascertained that yes, there is community interest and concern. And we've also discussed discussed whether or not there are public policy reasons for making this type of a change. And again, that's as we've talked about this over the last year, that's an area where we've reached the conclusion that yes, there do seem to be public policy reasons that would be necessary that for making the change. The next step then for us to look at is to consider what the percentages of protected class voters are in the district and what their geographic locations are, and then whether protected class candidates have historically been unsuccessful in district elections. In order to get at those two next questions, we will need to engage the services of a demographer who can dig down into the data and provide the board with some detailed information that will help you answer those questions and make some decisions about taking that next step. But it's important at this point for you to have that data. So that is what we would propose doing, and based on the discussion with you here tonight, that is our intent to move forward and contract with a demographer to do that work. We anticipate that it would cost between $5,000 and $8,000, depending on the depth of work that we ask this person to do. We can certainly accommodate that within existing budgets. We're not looking for expenditure authority from the board, but simply just a nod that yes, this is the direction that you want us to go in.
All right, thank you, Ms. Thornton. Board, this is your chance to discuss. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Thornton or comments?
Thank you for the research, and I'd give you a nod, yes.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it as well. I'm supportive of this. When I was discussing this with someone in our community, they mentioned to me the challenge of voter turnout in our community and other communities, and that's kind of a related but an aside issue that I don't know if we can really address that as school board or school district, but I'd love to see our community overall be more involved in things that we could do if people know people, or what the mechanism for that would be to just increase awareness and voter turnout. I'd love to see that increase over the next couple of years, and that would certainly go hand in hand with this as well, as we're trying to address greater involvement and representation.
Yes. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm in support of this too. Have been for a while, and I appreciate the support from our fellow board members as well, knowing that we're likely working ourselves out of a job, at least some of us. And I think that it will add diversity to the board and get some new perspectives, and I think it's going to be really good. So we'll see how everything pans out, but we're excited to see how this process goes. Thank you for doing this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
Sarah, for that presentation. I think we're all in favor of moving forward and finding out what we can do to make sure that every voice is heard, and so we'll look forward to the next report. Do you have any idea when that will come back?
I would anticipate that once we go out and engage the demographer, we're looking at least a couple of months. We'll be exchanging data, and they'll be doing the analysis. So I think you can anticipate having an update sometime this summer. Realistically, sooner, of course, if we can get it done sooner, but we'll keep you posted.
So do you need anything else from us other than just a nod to go look at different scenarios, and you'll bring those back to us?
Sure. Not at this point. I think we just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and understanding the direction.
Okay. I think we've got at least a majority of the board that's in favor of that. I think we all are, to be honest. So thank you, Sarah.
All right. Thank you.
So next under reports, we have Mr. Kevin Hebden, GFOA overview.
So I just wanted to remind the board, this is Kevin's first in a series of budget presentations that he'll be giving this spring in preparation for the 1920 budget planning process. So I'm stalling while he gets his presentation open. So it's my honor to introduce Kevin Hebden.
Thank you, Superintendent Whitney. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. As Superintendent Whitney stated, this mouse is very touchy. All right. Tonight, we're going to begin our a journey together. You're going to hear the term GFOA quite a bit, and I want you to be able to understand what that means. What is this organization? How is our involvement as a district in this organization? And what all that means. So the GFOA is the Government Finance Officers Association. Actually, before I get to that, as Ms. Whitney said, we will be working together on a series of presentations to walk us through as we begin to prepare for our 2019-2020 budget. The first one here is the GFOA overview. We'll be talking about the best practices in school district budgeting. And from now to the end of June, I believe it's June 25th, is when we're scheduled to wrap things up on the PASCO prototypical school funding model. And then you can see there on the right the journey and the path through these items that will be key and important pieces to our 2019-2020 budget process. So the GFOA, just a quick understanding of who they are, founded in 1906, headquartered in Chicago, 20,000 members throughout the USA. They provide members with best practice guidance, consulting, networking, publications including books, ebooks, and periodicals, recognition programs, research, training opportunities. And their mission is to advance excellence in state and local government finance. Some of the areas in which they focus are centered around accounting, auditing and financial reporting, budgeting and financial policies, debt management, economic development and capital planning, pension and employee benefits administration, and then some treasury and investment management. One of the programs that they have is an Alliance for Excellence in School Budgeting. GFOA is not something new to the school district. We've been involved for a little while, and in 2015 is when there were some first meetings that took place with this Alliance group. And the Alliance group is a little bit more focused on the best practices and a larger commitment to the standards set forth in the best practices for school district budgeting. So as a member of the Alliance, Pasco School District is an early adopter and is part of a group of about 90 plus school districts working on the implementation of the best practices. As part of the Smarter School Spending Initiative, we also are participating in that. It's got a nice cross-sectional of schools throughout the state, so you get well representation from the various schools and their difference in demographics, sizes, and student performance. So it's a great melting pot for ideas and supporting each other. To be a member of the Alliance, you have to participate in the annual Alliance conference by both fiscal or finance and academics. Which is a key part to the implementation of the best practices, and we'll get to that in just a minute. You have to have a willingness to adopt the best practices in school budgeting. That's the BPSB. And then you have to be willing to share your ideas, your struggles, your successes with others in the Alliance membership. Some of the benefits of being a member of the Alliance is you have access to resource materials, hands-on training throughout the implementation process. There's endless networking opportunities with peer districts that are struggling with some of the same things you are or we are, and access to a great knowledge base. GFOA also provides financial support to districts that present on best practices for school budgeting at outside conferences. This graphic, infographic as they call it, is hopefully it's not new. You may have seen it before. Over to the left, it starts out with academics and finance, as I mentioned earlier, and then together they embark on a journey through the budget process. I'd like to highlight, if you can see it there, first it's got finance and academics with bows and arrows shooting at a target. The work for that, and I'd like to kind of highlight the work that you've done as a board on our outrageous outcomes. You know, that knowingly or not knowingly, as part of this best practices that the GFOA puts out, is setting our goals, and then it's a matter of finding the resources to make those goals happen. So just to read a little bit of this so you can understand the process. What are our student learning goals? That's the outrageous outcomes. What is preventing us from reaching our goals? What are the best strategies to reach the goals? Making sure we get a return on our investment in various programs and various academics throughout the district. And then how do we pay for those strategies? And then how do we prioritize the strategies over a long-term process? So that is the goal of the district, working together with academics and finance, and making sure we're putting the money where we believe it should be. So that's what GFOA is in a nutshell, and what it means to be a member of the Alliance, and then the best practices in school budgeting that we are embarking on. I would like to point out that it is not just a one-year quick implementation. It takes some time to implement these changes throughout the district. And there were some delays in positions. You know, I'm brand new in my position, so that was trying to fill that position. That set some delays. There was also some delays due to legislative decisions that changed focus for the district, such as the McCleary decision. So happy to answer any questions you might have about the GFOA and or our journey on this budget series.
Thank you, Mr. Hebden. Any questions or comments from the board?
I think this is great information. I'm wondering if you or maybe Ms. Winnie could comment kind of where we're at as a district. Is this something that we want like each school to kind of go through and look at goals first and then the budget that they're requesting, or is it kind of district-led?
Yeah. So it's a great question, and I'm going to step in here just because I have the historical context for it, and Kevin's just getting up to speed on that. At this point, as a district, we're using this philosophy to drive district-level budget decision-making. However, as we are aligning our decision-making and resource allocation to goals, then it does have a trickle-down effect into the buildings. So if you were to go and ask a building principal, hey, tell me about GFOA, they might not be able to articulate this to you this way, but they would know that as a school district staff that we work really tightly around those outrageous outcomes now. So again, we're on this journey and kind of in the infancy stage, and part of this is because some leadership turnover in different roles and positions. Our end goal in the next 3 to 5 years is that every person in the organization, from superintendent to anyone who has budget authority, could articulate their priorities through this lens. So we're walking through this journey together, and it's a little bit of a shifting landscape now with McCleary, and we kind of thought we had our footing, and then things shifted on us a little bit. So we're going to continue to kind of walk this journey together. And like I said, in 5 years from now, I would expect that you ask anyone with budget authority, talk to me about your, how do you make budget decisions in this district, and they would be able to articulate this to you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Hebden. We'll look forward to our budget process going forward. Does anybody in the audience have any comments on GFOA BPSB or something like that?
Best practices in school budgeting.
There you go. All right, so I forgot to ask, after our last presentation report, does anybody in the audience have any comments on Voting Rights Act and districting? All right, seeing none. Mr. Hebden has another report on monthly budget reporting.
So just a quick question for us. Why are we here? Why am I here presenting this information? You know, I'm new in my position now. It's been about 6 months. Had the opportunity to meet with many of you, and I appreciate that time to get to know you a little bit better, see where you're at as far as finances, get to know what might be beneficial to you as financial information is presented to you so that you can make these decisions that you need to make. So I value our time together and appreciate you making the time for that. In considering the comments that I received from you, looking at frequency, content, and format, also looked into some what the requirements are for us to be reporting financial information to the school board. And then I also inquired with other school districts. So culminating all of that together, where are we going? We're gonna present to you as a consent agenda item at the second board meeting of every month a financial or a budget status on all of the funds that we have. We'll follow the prescribed methodology that is the F198 format. The F198 is developed by the OSPI, or the prescribed methodology is from OSPI, and we'll report that each month. And a sample of that is right here. It's just a very basic revenues, expenditures, other financing uses, and then the ending fund balance. I put the capital budget one up here a little bit because I figured I might get some questions about that one, as at the bottom it shows a negative number, and negative numbers in finance at the bottom are not typically a good thing. The only reason that shows that, that's actually not the ending fund balance. Those are some specific general ledger accounts, and at the end of the year we take that $8 million of expenditures in the capital budget and we decide how best to use the two lines above that, which are impact fees and then our bond proceeds, to maximize the use of those dollars. And then at the end of the year, obviously that's a positive fund balance. So in this example, $98.3 million is the current balance in our capital project fund. So pretty simple, straightforward. Hopefully it provides you with the information that you need, and happy to answer any questions you might have about this change in format, frequency, and content.
Thank you, Mr. Hebden. Any questions from Mr. Hebden?
I might add, if I may, that on consent agenda, the action that you'll be taking is just acceptance of the report.
Okay.
So I think you brought up impact fees, and that's something I've always kind of been interested in, and I brought up in the past that I think that's something we should proactively manage to kind of save up and stuff. So I'll be interested. I appreciate you including that, and I'll be interested to see how that plays out. I think it's following kind of our best practices. I'd like to see us as a board kind of provide more clear direction on use of impact fees, and I know there have been other issues around that area as far as collection of impact fees, but maybe that's something, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but since it was as a future agenda item that we could maybe address at some point this year. I don't think it's urgent, but that's something I have an interest in addressing at some point.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Hebden. I think we'll look forward to this going forward. I'm sure it'll take there might be some comments and questions as we get used to it, but appreciate your being proactive in this. So we'll have 5 different sheets. Is that what I'm understanding? One for each of the
I believe the
funds?
general fund is a 2-page report, so you'll have a 6-page report.
Okay.
There'll be a little bit of detail on the agenda item summary, which is your cover sheet that goes before each agenda item, and it'll have little blurbs in there about what we're currently seeing, so that you can basically see some highlights on each of the funds, if there are any.
Okay. Well, thank you. We'll work through this together. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience on finance reporting? Seeing none, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is future agenda items.
So our first meeting in April will actually be a board retreat. That board retreat will start at 4 o'clock. The topic of the retreat will be board governance. Our hope is to have a consultant from WASDA here to help the board process through your self-assessment, of which I'll launch that link tomorrow morning. If you can have that done by week's end of spring break, that would be ideal, so we can get that information culminated for you in preparation for the 9th. And then also working through the district annual or board annual work calendar. And then at the end of the month, you see a study session there scheduled, and the title is Professional Development PLCs. We're hoping to have Dr. Luis Cruz from Solution Tree, who's been a consultant who's been working in our district over the last 3 years helping us implement PLCs. He is going to we'd like to have him at the study session to talk about what he's seen in terms of the evolution of our PLCs over the last 3 years. He has some real insights as he's spent time in the teacher PLCs. And then he also has some places where we're hitting it out of the park, and then also some recommendations. So that would be studied or scheduled for a study session. Then during the board meeting, we would do a STEM audit report. I know that that's been of interest to the board. Mr. Hebden will continue his series on budget planning with prototypical school funding model. And then Mrs. Hay has worked through processes and has naming recommendations for you for middle school 4. So that is the board meeting. We are requesting an executive session this evening under 4231.10.1G for personnel-related items. I would expect it to take about 45 minutes, and we are not requesting any action.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mrs. Whitney. So next we have communications. Mr. Lehrman, would you start for us, please?
With all of the school cancellations and the change of season here, it made me think as I was seeing how flexible the facility staff were and the individual schools with allowing our community partners like Parks and Rec to make up games on Saturday and practices throughout the week. I'm just grateful for that flexibility and the partnership that we have with great community partners that give our students experiences and activities outside the classroom. And then we didn't talk about future items, and sorry I didn't get to look at it there. I was wondering, do we have the Hallmark experiences in the next couple months?
I can look.
Okay, thank you.
I'll pass.
I wanted to comment briefly on something that's been in the news a lot recently. I'm sure most of you have heard about the scandal about bribes to get kids into certain colleges, with some parents paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their children into certain colleges of choice. And I hope no one in our community, probably no one's capable of doing that, but it's been a good opportunity for self-reflection, and there are things that we can learn from that as a community. One we actually addressed in our study session, and that is pushing students to that they have to go to college, and then even worse would be encouraging them that they have to go to a prestigious school to be successful and happy in life. So this is, I think, an opportunity where something that specifically may not be an issue in our community, but on a broader level, it certainly affects probably all of our schools and families. And my wife and I have discussed this and kind of reflected, are we really engaging our children and encouraging them to pursue their interests and dreams, or are we pushing them to do things that we think they should do and putting too much pressure on them? Anxiety and stress among teenagers is one of their primary concerns, and I think this contributes a lot to that. So I would just invite us all to reflect on that, and if there's course corrections or things we need to change, it's a great opportunity to have that discussion with our kids and maybe make some changes.
I just want to congratulate the Pasco High dance team for placing first at state. Also tonight, baseball and soccer are both playing. And we also have our every 15 minutes drunk driving simulation for all seniors on Friday, as well as our senior picture. And then lastly, I want to wish everyone a happy spring break, and I hope you all enjoy the time off.
The spring break is coming up next week, and it's just amazing to see how fast this year has gone and everything that we've had the opportunity to do and accomplish this year, and it's amazing to see that, and I hope that everybody has a great spring break, and I'm excited to come back and to finish out this end of the year and for all the exciting steps that are coming.
Now that Isabella and Cassidy said something about spring break, I just remembered that spring break is so close. I have to agree with Cassidy. This year has gone by so fast, and from all the stuff that we've all been through, I think we all can say that it was difficult, but there was some, there was a bright side to everything, and I just hope that once we get back from spring break, we'll just get back on our feet and do our best for what we have left.
I wasn't sure if we should do this last week because we just learned of it. I'm sure most of you know that that Susana Reyes was appointed to the State Board of Directors, and that's quite the honor for her. And it also means, I think, great things for Pasco to have some of the unique needs of this, especially the eastern part of this state, to be more represented, and it's a great honor for her and says a lot about her leadership. So I wanted to congratulate her for that.
So I too hope everybody has a great spring break, and board members, your spring break will be a lot better if you finish the self-assessment before spring break. However, if you don't, we will be hounding you during spring break to get that done by the end of spring break, because we do want to have that input for our board assessment, or not assessment, our board retreat that's coming up the first week or second week in April, when we typically have our board meeting. We will not have a regular board meeting the first, it's the second Tuesday in April. We will have our retreat. So that's all I've got. Okay. So with that, we will recess into executive session, and again, we expect to take about 45 minutes, and there will be no action.